In the first part of 1971, on a small island near the Aleutians, the second underground nuclear test took place. This is what happened.
You're in the middle of the road, jackass!
Can you tell me where cornbread is? Turkey!
Turkey, so close to Thanksgiving.
Hello, and welcome again to just another movie night experience. This is Talking Trash.
Talking Trash.
November edition. Thanksgiving means little gobble gobble. And we're going to do something different this time. For the whole month, we're going to do Talking Trash episodes on our favorite turkeys. Movies that are so bad, we love them. And we're going to take turns picking them.
So bad, it's good.
The first movie out is my turn. And it's a celebration of the big man. The man in charge. Godzilla.
The head honcho?
The head honcho. He is turning 68 a few days after this will launch. And we're celebrating him in the only way I know how. With a masterpiece called Godzilla vs. Megalon.
Oh, okay.
And I have seen this movie probably about 30 times.
That's it? I would have thought you would have said at least 230 times.
I don't know, because this is one of those movies that as a child I watched over and over and over again to the point where it's disturbing. And now in later life I'm forced it upon you.
Well, I feel like I've watched it 30 times, so you must have seen it more than that.
No way.
I mean, I've seen this movie a lot.
I think you've seen it about 3 or 4 times. This might be your 4th time.
I think I might be on, to be realistic.
Did you remember any of it?
Well, but absolutely not, because I've seen so many Godzilla movies. But, I do remember a little bit of it. I do remember the little boy.
Yeah.
He was like, his voice, overdub voice was so...
Oh, it's
out
amazing.
of control. It was just so... There's no way that voice could ever come out of that kid. And I know that they did that on purpose because it's an overdub. It's obviously not that kid's voice.
And they never hired children actors for overdubbing. They always hire adults pretending to be children, and it's always amazing.
Yes, and it sounded like a woman. Like it could have been a woman doing that. So, and then, I remember that kid, and of course I remember Jet Jaguar.
You know what? I'll call him Jet Jaguar.
And,
yes, my love of Jet Jaguar.
Yeah, and that's what I remember.
Well, since this is Talking Trash, and since this is our Turkey edition, Talking Trash is always when we go through a movie, dissect it, rip it apart, joke around about it, and just try to figure it all out, if it makes sense. And then we're going to talk about our ratings and our feelings about it. So let's talk this plot out, because there's a lot to unpack on this one, because at 118 minutes, a short movie as it is, there's a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Not much makes sense in this film.
No, I mean, we can't really try and figure it out because, there's really nothing to figure out. It's pretty...
What?
The plot, I mean.
I'm mind blown right now.
No, the plot. Like, they tell you in the movie, like, what's going on.
None of it makes sense.
Yeah, they do. They tell you there's, like, an earthquake happening.
Nope.
But then, really, they think it's an earthquake in the beginning.
Well, yeah.
But we know that it's not because there's undersea dwellers.
All right, well, this movie opens up with a narration explaining, in the worst narration you've ever heard, too. Just guys like, the atomic bomb, things are happening, and Monster Island is affected by it.
The effects of the explosion were widespread, even on faraway Monster Island in the South Pacific.
And so we already jump in that Monster Island exists. We're in the Godzilla universe, and he's the friendlier version of Godzilla.
Oh, yeah. Because
And
he's a
he's
helper.
pissed off. So we
Yeah.
get to see his island. Now, this is a new A-bomb test. We really don't know where or where they're doing this, but whatever it is has affected the Monster Island inhabitants in a bad way. So we get a shot of maybe 3 or 4 of our favorite kaiju all getting pissed off. We got Anguirus, Rodan, Godzilla, and they're all just like, what the F is going on? And the best part about this is all shots from another movie. None of it makes sense to what they're telling us is happening. Because what's happening is an A-bomb is set off somewhere else, and for some reason, Monster Island is caught up in a fireworks show. And they're just pissed off, and they don't know why this is happening. And we don't know why this is happening. And in fact, we'll never be told why it's happening. So we move on from that to a nice little picnic with a maybe gay couple.
Yeah, I don't know what their relationship is, simply because there's a little boy involved, and I just remember him being like, I don't even think they ever say it, but I always assumed that his brother was the one controlling Jet Jaguar.
Whose brother?
The little boy. The little boy's brother.
So you think they're brothers?
I think the little boy and the Jet Jaguar guy is, the controller.
Mr. Ascot.
I think that they were brothers. That's what I assumed.
Well, it's an interesting thing to assume because their age difference is high.
Yeah, it's true.
What I take this as, and what I've always taken this as, is this is a Johnny Quest scenario. Where there is no wife, but there's a scientist who has a child, and he has a bodyguard friend. And it's questionable if they're in a relationship with each other.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, they do have a bromance. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a bromance.
It's a wild one, and one of them is definitely stronger than the other.
Yeah, for
There's
sure.
one that's the muscle.
Yep.
And the other one is a scientist. I'm doing that with quotations with my fingers. You can't see it because the things that this guy doesn't know about are amazing. Now, right off the bat, we should tell you this. A lot of stuff. The child's name is Roku. Okay.
Rokuro.
Okay.
Rokuro.
Rokuro-chan. So yeah. Now he is in the middle of a lake, right? And they are on a picnic. And the two men are picnicking, watching the child in the middle of the lake on the coolest toy you've ever seen.
Yeah, it's like a cool paddle boat.
It's a paddle boat that looks like clownfish.
Yeah, it's really cool. And he's out there just paddling away, having the time of his life.
And he's going, hey, look at me, everybody, look at it, it's so good.
Yeah, like that's exactly how his voice sounds.
That's how it sounds. I'm probably doing it better than the actual overdubber is doing it.
I think you might be doing it better.
Because it's way more annoying.
Yeah.
But I love it. It makes me laugh my ass off.
But the kid is, he's pretty smart, I think,
Oh, he's awesome.
This
kid's
awesome
getting stuff done in
kid,
this movie.
Yeah. I actually like this kid.
Yeah. Well, so then we're watching the happy couple hanging out on the beach, which is not even a beach. It's virtually just rocks they're laying on. And they're sharing a Coca-Cola in a nice little cups.
Yeah.
Their names are Goro. That's very hard to forget. Goro.
And Hiroshi.
Yes.
Looks like fun. Want to try?
Yeah, why not?
A drink?
Yeah.
And they are watching him with glee paddling away. But then there's an earthquake from the A-bomb, apparently, that's being tested somewhere. And the lake that they're in, they think it's like an earthquake, which you just said.
Yeah.
And we know this because the camera's shaking, and they're throwing boulders at them, which is great. And they're trying to get the kid who's crying for help in the middle of the ocean. By the way, this kid is constantly dressed the same way. He's always dressed like Gilligan.
He does look like Gilligan, but except he's wearing like booty shorts.
So was Gilligan.
Gilligan? Oh yeah, I guess he was wearing booty.
This is like the exact same outfit as Gilligan wore on the show. He's screaming for help in the middle of the lake because the lake is now sucking inward like a drain. which it really is, because we get a shot of the lake later on, which is obviously a miniature, and it's just a tub, and it's draining, and we get to watch a toy get sucked into the drain.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting too, because usually when a lake gets drained, there's like some kind of like debris or sea life or not sea life, but like some kind of life in the lake. So like when they drain it, when it gets drained, you think that there would be some crap on the ground.
Well, that's the thing. We see a shot of, well, let's just say that they saved the child. And then this is the best thing. When you go to a picnic, always bring a grappling hook rocket launcher.
Yeah.
It's a necessity for all picnic adventures.
This kid is literally in the middle of this and like, okay, what they think is an earthquake, right? So they're screaming towards the kid, and the kid's screaming, help me, help me. And he's in the middle of the lake, so they can't swim out and get him in time. So
he shoots.
One of the guys just shoots a grapple over to the
this is
thing
like
that he's riding on. The kid's riding on.
Imagine a shirt cannon at a sporting event, but it's shooting a grappling hook, and it flies out, and the kid's able to get it and be towed in, and they save him right before all of the water gets sucked into the holes. And then we see the lake. And by the way, they didn't save the toy, the coolest toy ever. That's a running thing in this. This kid has the coolest toys, and he loses them all.
It's tragedy.
We see that the middle of the lake is now a giant ripped crater where there is cracks everywhere, and it almost looks volcanic in a way. And you think this is a big deal, and this should really freak them out, and they should really try to figure out what's going on or study it. Nope. Cut to them driving away in a car, happy as hell, and having the most hilarious jazz flute music playing. They're excited, and everything's great. But the radio tells us...
And now for the latest news flash. Earthquakes are still being experienced in many parts of the Pacific. It is feared many lives have been lost. According to the National Seismic Institute, the disturbances were undoubtedly caused by the nuclear test. They also warned that more tremors are expected.
Incredible, isn't it? What the hell are they trying to do? Wipe us all out or something?
Yeah, you're right.
A lot of people have died. Anyways...
Yeah.
In other news,
it's like going on a picnic type music. Yeah. It's like Lifetime Channel. When families go on drives and they play that happy music. That's what it was like.
Yeah, and you know what I'm thinking is that in this world, it is being decimated constantly by kaiju. So all of news is just got to be like taken with a grain of salt. Everybody's happy because it's like, well, we didn't die from a kaiju attack this week. I guess that this is as happy as they can get. So they drive away, and they get to their house, and this is another thing to talk about. I don't know if this is a house, because we never see anything but a laboratory.
Yeah, so we're just going to assume that it's just a lab.
And I don't know if they all live together, but they go up, the child goes to open the door, and it's already open. Dun, dun, dun. And they get jumped by Jimmy Fallon in a wig. This guy, at certain angles, this guy who jumps out at them, this guy's wearing an ascot and a suit jacket to rob somebody.
Okay? Yeah, because you have to look stylish when you do this.
Imagine if they took Jimmy Fallon and they put on oh my God, I'm trying to think of how to explain this hair thing that this guy's got. It shoots out of the sides.
Yeah, he looks like a 1970s, gun for hire.
Yeah.
But he's wearing like an ascot, and like most of the time these characters are all wearing like turtlenecks.
They're all Bond villains.
Yeah, they all look like
loaded with Bond
they do look like Bond villains for sure.
The other guy with Jimmy Fallon looks just like Bluto from the Popeye movie.
Yeah, he really does.
But he's skinny, like a skinny version of that guy.
But yet I believe he's wearing a turtleneck too. So all villains have to wear turtlenecks.
Yeah, and they're all wearing pastels, like really ugly
and, like,
pastel colors.
Blazers and
they all have sweaters with turtlenecks under them.
Yeah,
it is crazy clothes.
It looks crazy.
It just makes me so happy to watch everybody. Well, they get jumped, and all three of them get the shit kicked out of them very quickly, and
including the kid who probably has his neck broken, but we don't know.
The child and the scientist get instantly knocked out, and I think the reason he's not there is he's parking the car. Mm-hmm. He dropped them off really nicely, and he went to park the car. And then he comes up there, and he tries to save them. And he tries to fight off the bad guys. And just to make sure that the other two aren't dead, he jostles them around by the neck when they're knocked out to wake them up, and he's like, "Are you guys all right? Okay, fine." And he always checks. I was watching this he always checks the scientist first to make sure he's fine.
Yeah, of course.
And the reason I bring this up is this happens multiple times throughout this movie that he has to check on them because they're constantly being knocked out.
Well, yeah, they
or
go through some
beaten
shit.
to
They go
shit,
through
yeah.
some shit in this movie, and this poor little kid. I mean, he like basically has like a broken body.
and he just with the narrated with his overdubbing voice, it's so funny.
Help me!
Yeah,
Help
he's like,
me.
I'm okay. Oh, I'm all right.
It kind of sounded like The Fly when I did it.
Help me. So he goes in, and this guy's badass. He is definitely, what's his name? Ray Spannon. Ray Spannon. He chases after them. In his car, there's a whole thing. He runs out, gets in his car, chases them, somehow catches up to them. They have a whole thing. He's driving at night.
But we don't really know why the goons are there right at that point.
We have no idea.
We're just assuming that, because when they walked into the lab, Jet Jaguar was there. The robot was there.
Yeah, not to spoil future events, but yeah, there's a crazy looking robot thing in the middle of the room, and their place is trashed. Like they were stealing something, but nothing's been taken as far as these people can tell. So he gets back to the guy who chased them. He couldn't get them. They got away. So he gets back to them, and they have found red powder. They say it's sand, and they find red powder. Mm-hmm. And the guy who's fighting off the people to save them, he somehow grabbed a button-looking device. It looks like a flat little red button, and they you know what? They've just been mugged. They have been knocked out. A child has been hurt. No cops are called. They decide to have tea.
Yeah, they sat around, they had tea. Everyone seems to be fine. And I even made mention, I'm like, are there no cops in Japan?
Not in this movie, which is even
so
crazier. We don't really know what these people do, except work on this robot, apparently. So they're sitting around tea, and he says, "Hey, what's that thing in your hand?" "Oh, it's a button I found." And the kid's like, "Give me that." And the kid figures this whole thing out. He goes, "Hey, this looks like sand that we found." And he's like, "You found sand?" "Yeah." So they match it up, and they go, "Holy crap, this might be the same thing," right? Montage. Now, this montage is mind-blowingly bizarre. I have no idea what this is. They seem to be researching the sand in a montage using blowtorches, welding masks, an entire thing. And I do not know what they find out because the character just comes up and goes, "It is of the same substance." Like, what the fuck is the montage?
Yeah, I didn't understand. I'm like, okay.
Did they go to the cops? Did they research? He says it's of a special. I think the guy who we're calling Race, he shows up. The bodyguard, basically. Yeah. He shows up and the whole montage has nothing to do with the sand. It turns out because he just brings it in and goes, "Oh, someone told me that this sand is from the ocean."
Right. And that's when we enter into a whole new area of the plot, which it's crazy and all over the place as it is.
Wait. Before you jump into that, we have to talk about what he says. It's from the ocean, but near Easter Island. And now the scientist, he's a scientist.
Yeah,
he goes,
scientist.
"What the hell is that?"
He knows nothing about Easter Island.
He says,
We've been checking over that sand we found here.
Go on.
It's from a strata 30 miles below the seabed.
Eh? You sure?
Yeah. The only other place you'll find it is on Easter Island.
Easter Island? Where's that?
It's an uninhabited island 2,000 miles east of Tahiti. It's mainly famous because of a very peculiar discovery that was made there. Some huge statues overlooking the sea. They're said to be over 3 million years old.
Well, that doesn't help one bit. It makes it worse.
how does he not know about this? You learn this in every class. There's Easter Island is like, what are these structures that look like heads were carved out?
I mean, you learn about that stuff in school.
And he's like, what is that? And so he explains it to him in like a little science thing. Cut to Easter Island, but we go underneath it and we see a matte painting of a world under the water, apparently. And we cut to a guy who looks like Sean Connery in a toga.
Yeah. So we're led to believe that he is the king of, let's call it SeaTopia.
I think he says SeaTopia.
He says SeaTopia. So let's go
This
with
is where
that.
you have a lot of questions. You can talk about all what he starts saying.
Okay, first of all, this guy, man, I can't with this guy. Nothing what he's saying makes any sense. Okay, so his scene in the movie, I just need some help on this because there's literally the outfits. Can we just talk about the outfits first of all?
He's in a toga.
He's in a toga. He looks like he's having some weird sex party.
Yeah, you actually made a joke. What is he, a sex party? And then they cut to women looking like sperm.
Yes, they
running
have
around
these.
in a
Oh my
dancing
god,
circle.
they have the whole scene is him talking nonsense, and then the girls. There's a bunch of girls in white underwear, and then like these ridiculous. They look like bug nets on their heads, and they're just dancing around in some kind of like ritualistic dance sequence. For whatever reason, it has nothing to do with anything that he's saying. All he is saying basically is that he completely contradicts himself, and it's so confusing because he says that Earth is the enemy,
Yeah.
and he wants revenge on Earth.
He says the Earth. And
The
he says
Earth.
the atom bombs that they've been blowing up have destroyed a third of their country?
Yeah, so he says the atom bombs that the Earthlings have, detonated have destroyed like a third of their country. Making it seem like they are still on Earth.
Yeah. Which they are.
Okay.
They're in the ocean, apparently.
So why are they referring to, getting revenge on the Earth, and then also in the same breath referring to themselves as a country?
Yeah.
And saying that, they're SeaTopians, so they live under the ocean, which they make themselves seem like they're not even on the same planet as Earth.
Yes.
So it
And
was very confusing. I'm like, what is this?
This leads me to believe that they've never made contact with Earthlings.
What's that? Where's those places? I never heard of them before.
I'll tell you.
With the humans
But-
on the surface.
Right, that's what we're led to believe, but we know
Because-
that they have.
No.
Because one of the goons with the ascot works for
Oh,
them.
that's where I have so many questions about this movie. So he's making it sound like they won't stop destroying us. But it doesn't look like he's ever reached out and talked to the United Nations or tried to make a pact with the humans. So it's so bizarre to me. His first instinct is we got to kill the surface people.
Oh, people, today, SeaTopia goes to war. After 3 million years of peace, we finally have to fight. We don't want to, but the people of Earth leave us no choice. With their nuclear test, they have already destroyed a third of our country. No more. SeaTopia will strike back. For today, the Earthmen now will have to take their own medicine. That's right. For I will unleash Megalon to protect our land, our underwater world.
Right?
Yeah.
And I have to talk about this because he has a funny headpiece. It's not a headpiece. It's basically a band on the front of his head, but he has a googly-eyed version of the kaiju that he will now unleash onto the earth, which I could not stop laughing at, staring at it, because when the little thing looks worse than the big monster,
Yeah.
it's even funnier when you have a googly thing and the eyes just staring at you. But so yeah, we find out that the goons work for him, and they have put a listening device in the laboratory to hear these scientists do work.
Which
This is crazy because now they're saying to us that they have infiltrated the surface and they have people working jobs and wearing regular clothes. Well, I wouldn't say regular clothes, but clothes. Because I guess the people underwater wear togas and weird, dresses, like see-through dresses.
Well, bug nets on their heads.
And big sperm tails on their heads. And if they infiltrated them and they have all this stuff, why not just take over or infiltrate the A-bombs,
Right.
the program, and stop it from there? Their plan is one of the most batshit crazy things I've ever heard. His plan, this guy, and by the way, it's played by an American, this actor.
He's an American.
He says we have to destroy the humans. And he prays to his idol to wake up. Apparently, the co-star in this movie, Megalon, is like a lazy bum who just won't wake up. And he keeps going, wake up and get revenge for us. Wake up.
Megalon! Megalon! Wake up! Megalon! Come on, rise up now! To the Earth's surface! Destroy the Earth! Destroy our enemies! Rise up! Go on! Megalon!
You know, and then he shoots out.
And he shoots out right near a huge dam.
Yeah.
And
well,
that was very convenient.
That's late. Yeah. He's shooting out, and it takes a long time for all that to happen. But we cut back to these two goons have been listening into the scientist, and the scientist goes to the friend. He says, it's worked. My robot has been created, and he works. Mm-hmm. And he's like, wow, you did it? He's like, yeah, I did it. I'm going to call him Jet Jaguar.
Not bad. You're right, it suits him. That's a great name.
And he's like,
which makes
you know what?
a whole lot of sense.
That's a perfect name. He really looks like a Jet Jaguar.
Yeah, he has that, he looks like a Jaguar. He really does. He's completely metallic looking with like a Hershey's Kiss typed head.
Yep.
He's
orange
got
and blue color scheme.
Orange and blue color scheme that looks like rubber around his arms. He just looks like the Michelin Man.
He does. He looks exactly like the tire guy. Yeah, I was just going to say that.
And so, he looks exactly. So that's an appropriate name. Yeah.
He's also got the biggest shit-eating grin on his face.
He does.
Permanent
He has
shit-eating
like
grin.
a grill. He
Yeah.
has, So, I mean, just to describe this to you, you guys have to see this.
It's a must. Well, at the same time, the child, Roku, he is outside and he was playing with a motorcycle that he has built, which is a miniature motorcycle. And
it's super cute. This kid's really smart.
This kid's like 5? How old is he?
He's probably like 8 or 9.
Okay, he's 8 or 9. He just gets to go. He goes, okay, bye. I'm going to go ride on my motorcycle. And the guys are like, have fun. He goes off and he gets kidnapped by Jimmy Fallon and Bluto. And they throw him in the car and they speed up the shot. So you see Bluto wrestling this kid in the back of the window and sped up. He looks like he's throwing him all over the car. It is hilarious. This kid's getting beat up. So they bring them, they hear in their little transmitter that Jet Jaguar is done. They finished him. He's up and running. They've done what they wanted. And they're like, oh, we got to go get a robot now. So they take the child back to the laboratory and fake the kid waving at the front door so they'll open it for him. But it never seems like it's locked because everybody just goes, come on in.
Walks in, yeah.
So why they have to do any of that is beyond me. They get in there and they shoot some kind of smoke shot. Like it's a bullet, but it like just shoots smoke in their faces. And they, again, the child and the scientist pass the hell out.
Yes. So, but they hit the floor. So, this is just another incident of
this kid and the scientist getting messed up.
I feel so bad for this kid. Speaking of kids, can I just give you a tasty tidbit about Jet Jaguar? Jet Jaguar was created by a child.
Okay.
So, the whole concept was it was like fan service. So it was a contest that Toho had in 1972 for children to come up with a new hero for them to use in their movies.
Great.
And
that's awesome.
Yeah, a child came up with Jet Jaguar.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I thought that's kind of cool.
Yeah, so cool.
Yeah.
Especially some of the trivia later on I'll talk about.
Yeah.
Because I've seen this movie and I know a lot about it. But it turns out that the child and the scientist have now been locked into a shipping container.
Yes,
and we know this
after they were knocked out by the knockout guys.
They wake up in it, and the way we know that this is in a shipping container because the scientist is brilliant, and he says, "I think we're in a metal box." This guy.
No, but they're all tied up, and the kid's like hog-tied.
Yeah.
And he's like probably have brain damage at this point.
Yeah, and the best part is the scientist goes, "Get over here and untie me." And now they're both tied with their hands behind their backs.
Right, with their hands behind their
But he wants
back.
the kid to get him out.
Get him out.
This guy, he's a guy who just created artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what Easter Island is. He deduces that they're in a metal box because they're in a metal box. Like, there is no a way around this. And they're jostling, this is the best part, because they're on a shipping container on the back of a pickup truck. And they're flying all around in this truck.
Every time the truck takes a turn, they're flying and cracking their heads on the side of the shipping container. And every time, I swear to God, this kid has like a broken neck.
Oh, it's insane.
He has brain damage, a severe concussion at least.
Yep.
I mean, this kid has been like, destroyed. This poor little boy.
Yeah. So, the funniest part about this is they cut back to the other guy, and for some reason, Jimmy Fallon is at the laboratory using
Jimmy Fallon.
the computer and communicating with SeaTopia, I believe it's called.
We've managed to occupy the laboratory, and we have the inventor, too.
That's good. You've done well. Set up the robot and get it to guide Megalon to the target.
And we don't really know who he's communicating with because it's not the man that's down there that just commanded a monster to kill everybody.
He's not talking to him, but we know that he's talking to someone in SeaTopia.
Someone in SeaTopia, someone official.
Yeah.
We don't know. But for some reason, they kept the bodyguard guy in the laboratory with him.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
I don't get this at all.
So he was tied up.
Now, let's just run through this plot because at this point in the movie,
I feel like the bodyguard is in the shipping container with the kid.
No, it's the scientist, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Okay. It is definitely a scientist because he's stupid. He always says dumb things to everybody. He doesn't know anything. And we know that the bodyguard is the one in the office because when he gets out, he kicks the shit out of the guy in the office with him. But, well, let's just break down the plot because SeaTopia has now unleashed a kaiju to destroy the surface planet. Yeah. But they also have a sub-plan where they want to take a robot and a scientist and a child to SeaTopia to make robots. Let's just what
you have a kaiju. You have a kaiju. Why would you need a robot?
Yeah.
And what would be the reasoning since your whole plan for the kaiju is to destroy Earth?
Yeah. And so why would you also jeopardize the one plot by releasing a kaiju in the same area as where you have people trying to get Jet Jaguar?
Yeah, I don't understand. It's very baffling.
Baffling. And so they have now, this is also crazy, they automatically have control of Jet Jaguar, and they can make him do whatever he wants. And what they use him for is to fly to Megalon and tell him, hey, follow me. Which Megalon now does, right? What's really, this is really odd. But what's even more odd is that their plan is that they need the scientists who created Jet Jaguar because they want more robots. And so their plan is to drop him in a shipping container down into the ocean.
Yeah.
What the fuck is happening?
How would they think that two human beings
would survive
that?
And why would it be so hard? Couldn't they just put them in a shell or some kind of container just to shoot them down into the water, or a submarine or something? They're going to drop him in a shipping container off a dam with a child. And why do they need the child?
Why do they? Yes, that's
I know he's
baffling.
Intelligent. He's more intelligent than
he's actually more intelligent than the scientist.
Father, scientist,
we don't know who they are, how they're
child.
related, but yeah.
So that's really crazy. And then the funniest part about this is now SeaTopia has goons, but those goons don't know how to drive pickup trucks. So they have hired two bumbling pickup truck guys and told them they're going to pay them a lot of money.
Yeah. That's
Why?
what they do. For what?
What? Why?
The whole point is to wipe out Earth anyway.
Yeah, and why these guys can't use a pickup truck? And this is even better now because he calls some other guys. Well, what happens is the bodyguard gets loose. Right after Jimmy Fallon has told him the entire plot, they say that SeaTopia's messed up. They need robots to help them build.
Yeah.
That's the plot. And he instantly gets out of his chair by smashing the chair, breaking it apart, and beating Jimmy Fallon up. And then he tells him, "Where are my friends? Where is the scientist? Where's the kid?" And he's keeps slamming his head into the ground, and he tells him. And then,
but what's more amazing to me is that, the bodyguard gets into his car and somehow finds the truck that they were in the shipping container. He
says
finds it.
They're in a truck, in a shipping container, and I don't think he says they're going to drop them at the dam. I don't remember
he
any
never
of
says that. No.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, oh, this is very, it's convenient because this guy knows exactly how to find this car.
Yes.
In all of this island that they're on, he knows how to find it.
Yeah, and he leaves Jimmy Fallon awake.
Oh, he doesn't tie him up or anything.
He doesn't tie him up.
He just leaves him.
He just leaves him. And Jimmy Fallon wakes up, calls more goons who have motorcycles and extra cars.
Yeah.
These guys can't use a pickup truck.
Right.
But they could drive a motorcycle and cars. And they come and hunt down the bodyguard while he's on a hunt for his friends. And there's just insane stunts where they're driving down the middle of cliffs. They're driving down staircases.
Oh, insane stuff.
Insane stuff's going on here.
It looks like, I know they weren't really doing that, driving down the
Oh, they
mountain.
totally did it. Yeah,
but
you can see
it's there's some parts that seem sped up to me.
Oh yeah, there's absolutely some stuff that is sped up.
But how did anyone's car not flip over during that stunt? That was crazy. And they were using these tiny, tiny cars too.
You can see that they reinforced certain spots and they did certain things. I think one of the motorcycle guys falls and he gets comically put in cement and they play wank wank wank.
Yeah, it's very comical. This movie does not take itself seriously, except when the SeaTopia king is speaking, and he commands attention. And he's not saying anything that's
although
coherent.
He's dressed in a way where it's like you can't take this guy seriously.
He looks like a joke, and he's not. He's just babbling incoherently. You don't even understand what he's talking about.
Well, it turns out Megalon has been sent to the dam to destroy it and knock all the water in. He does this by going right through the middle. Now, look, I absolutely love these movies. I love them. The miniatures are so endearing and so much fun, and you can't get enough of
It's
them.
fun to see them smash up the miniatures.
This actor, whoever's in the Megalon suit, jumps right through the dam and goes sliding like a slip and slide through the water. And
it was funny.
It just so happens that at the same time, the shipping container is about to be dropped off the same ledge that Megalon is smashing through. The guys who are driving the pickup truck run away, but damn, I forgot this. They're getting paid a lot of money to drop this shipping container off this bridge, and they're not asking any questions until something happens, and they go, "I don't want to do this anymore," because I think they're getting calls that Megalon, a huge kaiju, is loose. Mm-hmm. And they're like, "We don't want to do this." And Bluto's with them, and he puts a gun on them, which looks like a little toy phaser.
Yeah.
And they beat the crap out of him and throw him off a cliff.
No, they toss him out of the car.
Yeah, he goes flying down the cliff.
Flying down the cliff.
They murdered this
crazy.
guy.
I swear to God, I feel like they murdered that person.
And even better, they still go do the job.
Yeah, they do.
Why? I don't know why. They get to the thing and they go to drop this thing.
I mean, they were under duress, and then now they're not.
And now they're
still go to the truck to drop this crate off
and
the
they
side.
go to drop it.
What are you doing? You're not under duress anymore.
Yeah, I don't even know why they're still doing the job. If anything, just steal the crate. Maybe there's something important in it.
Right. It was so weird.
Because this guy's willing to hold them up with a gun. So they go to drop this thing, but at the same moment, they hear Megalon, and that's when he comes through the dam. They run off, but at the same exact time, the bodyguard friend shows up.
Yep, while the water's gushing through, because mind you, the dam is broken.
Yep.
So all the water's just rushing through, and it's going to drown everybody any second.
Yeah. And he can't figure out this truck either that's about to drop the thing off.
Right.
And by the way, it's hanging off the edge.
Oh, yeah, it would have already slid off.
Yeah.
There's literally nothing holding it on to the truck.
Yeah.
At this point, it was just so goofy.
Well, Megalon sees this and is like, "That truck, I need to get it." Now, I guess we should describe what Megalon looks like, because he's like a giant cockroach that has a wand on the top of his head, and also his arms are just drill bits.
Yeah, he's very bizarre looking.
Yeah, he's got full-on cockroach back with wings,
Yeah, he
like
has
beetle-like.
wings. He looks like a bug.
Yeah.
He does.
And he's got a mouth with like 2 pinchers.
Yep. He's like really. He's
And I
kind of
love what he looks like.
He's neat looking.
I think he looks fun.
Yeah, he looks different.
But the shipping container starts falling at the same time that he winds up and goes to grab, which he can't because he has no hands, the shipping container. He ends up smacking it and comically throwing it like a baseball.
It was so funny.
Through the air with the child and the scientist inside of it, who go flying out when it crashes because it opens the door and they go rolling out.
Yes. Okay. So this is just another. What is this? Instance number what? 4 or 5?
I think this is 3 or 4.
Where this kid and this bodyguard or the scientist are in the freaking crate that gets tossed hundreds and hundreds of feet in the air and crashes down to the ground so hard that it opens the door and they go rolling out a bunch of like comical, like, you know, it was just ridiculous. And they're not dead. You know, they're barely even injured. It was just nothing wrong with them.
Because the bodyguard goes over and shakes them again.
And then like, he goes over and shakes the kid and says, "Oh my God, are you okay? Are you okay?" Like, yeah, that's what you want to do. You want to shake this kid. All of his bones are like gonna fall apart any minute.
Not only does he shake him, he props him up against it. He sits him up and puts his head on a metal thing.
Yeah,
he's
so
like,
he's already probably has like 5 degrees of brain damage, concussions. He's probably just
good.
gonna. He's at this point you would think he's being held together by just blood.
Yeah.
And then the other one, the
he's like sprawled out. He
scientist
went
is
rolling.
Sprawled out. He went rolling, and he shakes him, and he says, "Oh, get up! Are you okay?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I'll be okay. It's nothing."
Yeah. And
he got tossed hundreds of feet in the air. He's probably like got a broken back and ruptured body parts. And
Yep. And if you're wondering right now, 2 things I guarantee you're wondering right now. Why hasn't Megalon come for them after he has smacked them comically through the air?
Yep.
And 2, isn't this a Godzilla film?
Right.
No. Well, you might be right on both these things because Godzilla does not show up for at least the last 20 minutes of the movie.
Yeah,
maybe.
It's like an hour and 18 minutes long, and we see Godzilla for the last 20 minutes of the movie. But
yeah, and that's being generous too.
It is being generous. We do get other, other monsters and other things. I mean, Jet Jaguar is flying around, which looks pretty funny.
Well, yeah. So yeah, well, Megalon just leaves. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, Megalon just says, "You know what? Fuck your couch.
Yeah.
I'm done with you."
He just goes off.
And he just walks away. And then, the 3 of them, they get. Where do they get a car?
Well, first he says Jet Jaguar is flying around. They're controlling him, and he goes, "That's okay. I have a MacGuffin around my neck. I have a device that can control Jet Jaguar from where I am." And he's like, "How convenient." But guess what? It needs the line of sight.
That means he needs to be right in front of him.
It's got to be like a garage opener.
Yeah,
and
like
you
a
have
garage
to click it in a certain distance from him, and somehow it takes him back over.
But it looks like a small medallion that goes around your neck.
Yeah.
But he talks into it to command.
That's right,
Jet
it
Jaguar.
does.
He talks into it.
But he says to him, "We have to get closer." So now Megalon and Jet Jaguar are now on a ramp. Well, Jet Jaguar is flying around. He's this little toy, and he's flying around, and Megalon is following him. And Megalon goes on a rampage, which is basically stock footage from another movie, which is the Ghidorah film, where it's all of the blasts because that character, that kaiju, has 3 heads, and each head shoots a lightning bolt. So when you watch the footage from this, you see 3 lightning bolts hitting everything, but there's only 1 coming out of Megalon's head. Right. So you can tell automatically, okay, they're reusing footage.
They had to, they had to, which probably saved them money, you know?
This is on the cheap. Yeah, this one was on the cheap.
I think this film was made for about $3.50
Oh, hell
US.
No. I would. Can you imagine if you could do this? If you could do that with this, oh, wow.
They all work for free.
So
Which I would. If I was asked by Toho Studios to do a Godzilla movie, I would work for free. I don't care.
Well, so now the army is involved. So the army shows up, and we get an entire montage of the army showing up. And it's cute as all hell. It's all the cars are little tiny miniatures
miniature models
mixed in with real footage of the army. And they're all showing up, and they're playing the music. And it's just great. And they're all showing up to fight Megalon. And the scientist, the bodyguard, and the child now are talking to the army. And in the best, funniest thing ever, the head of the military just says to them,
"But still, at the moment, he's still controlled by the computer."
I know, but this transmitter's signals will override the computer controls. I'm sure.
Well, let's give it a try.
Right.
well, Jet Jaguar is not under your control anymore. Okay, what is happening? One, they know Jet Jaguar's name.
Right.
They know the name of this robot.
How?
They know this robot exists, and they know that he doesn't have control anymore.
Right.
And he's telling the scientist, like, the scientist didn't know any of that, which means that the army is somehow involved with the scientist, but none of that is established whatsoever.
No, not at all.
Yeah,
Not at all.
And the scientist is like, "You're right, I know, but we can reestablish it if you can get me close enough with the device." And the army guy's like, "Well, it's our only chance." What the fuck?
Yeah.
Why? And he's like, "Well, the only way to beat him is if we get close enough, we can trigger him and go get Godzilla."
Right, we could trigger Jet Jaguar with the little
the remote.
device, and he can go and tell Godzilla, "Hey, we need help."
Yeah. Okay. I mean, this is madness.
It's a craziest plot.
and
I just
It works because they get in a helicopter while the child and the bodyguard go off in a car to come up with a plan. They go to a model shop. Or anyways, let's cut to the one thing first. The scientist gets in a helicopter with the general. They get close enough, and he's able to speak to Jet Jaguar. And he says, "Oh, well, luckily I programmed Jet Jaguar to have a failsafe that he can control himself and take over."
This damn thing's useless now. I think I know what must have happened. He's programmed himself for survival. I built that into him. He's on his own.
You sure? You mean he'll simply operate on his own from now on? Without further orders from you?
why would you ever do that?
Yeah, what?
Like you're enabling
A deadly weapon.
a deadly weapon to just be sentient.
Sentient. And the general's like, "Great." And this works out really well because he tells Jet Jaguar, "Hey, they're trying to control you. You're free. Help us out. Go get Godzilla." And Jet Jaguar goes, he doesn't talk in this movie, but he just says,
Yeah. Okay.
He turns around and flies off.
He goes.
By the way, he has theme music.
He
which
does
is
have theme
brilliant.
music. Yes.
It's brilliant. It
Yes.
is so catchy and fun and
Insert
cheesy as
music
hell.
here.
人が作ったロボットだけどジェッジャガージェッジャガーやったねジャガー行け行け平和を守るためみんなも驚く勇気を見せるゴジラとジャガーでパチパチパチパチパチパチ泣くな僕ら
Yeah, it's amazing. I'll be playing it through this whole thing probably. He flies off, and we don't see him for a bit. Just like we don't see Godzilla for a bit. So then we have a plot where now Megalon is pissed.
Yeah.
He's going nuts.
Well, he's just rampaging. He's destroying everything.
And we forgot that when he's following Jet Jaguar, he hops.
He does hop.
He hops.
And then they also
like
gave
a cute
him
bunny rabbit hopping
yes,
along.
they gave him cute music as he hops too.
He's like boing,
boing,
boing.
boing.
Yeah.
It was very comical.
It's amazing.
Like, it just feels like these movies were made, for children.
Oh, it's
so funny because like one thing that I noticed, this is because we're talking about how these movies are made for kids. When the villains are driving in the truck, there's like pinup posters
Yes, nudity.
plastered on the back of the window.
You're absolutely right. I forgot
And
about
there's
that.
breasts hanging out. And you
You're right.
can clearly see the model's boobs just out. And I'm like, that is unusual for these movies. They don't show that in any of these Toho movies. It's
Yeah.
It's not a thing.
Well, that's really funny because you're saying it's for children, and it really isn't.
Well, the
because-
sound effects would make it seem as though it's comical.
It is, but so many people would go see these movies. These movies were like huge successes. This one was a huge flop.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well,
except
I wonder
for
why.
in America, that's a whole
Yeah,
nother story.
well, because Americans Americans can embrace why they love this.
Well, yeah, it's a really strange story about this movie, but yeah, so Megalon goes nuts, right? And he's uncontrollable. So we cut back to SeaTopia. The leader of SeaTopia is like, "We've lost control of Megalon. He's going crazy." They're like, "Well, reach out to another alien, another species, and ask them, can we borrow their kaiju?"
First of all, how did they
So-
ever think that they would have any kind of power or control over Megalon in the first place? Like, what are they doing there? Are they
He's
using like
their
a dog
sea
whistle?
god or some
Are they
sort.
using like how are they communicating with him? Are they using like a dog whistle or something?
That's why they needed Jet Jaguar, and they had that ready to go, but they unleashed him before they had control
yes,
of Jet
it
Jaguar.
makes no
All right,
freaking sense.
But what's even better is they're asking for another species. I don't think they're even from Earth,
No, well, he's another kaiju, obviously.
but he's not from this planet. And
No.
they call them. Now, let's just remember the plot of this. They don't have any like connection to the United Nations on their own planet. But they know aliens from another planet.
Right.
And they are trading kaiju like it's like going over next door and asking for a cup of sugar.
Right.
They're
It's
going, "Hey,
just-
can I borrow your kaiju this week?"
It's so weird. And
So-
why would anyone want to give up a kaiju? Because they'd risk them dying.
Yeah. So call back to a previous movie. That alien race was in a previous movie, and their kaiju, Gigan, gets sent to Earth to join Megalon in a Royal Rumble. And it is fucking beautiful.
It is
Every moment of it is
perfection.
hilarious.
It is perfection.
So what happens here is Gigan, who is turning 50. Godzilla's 68th anniversary, his birthday, and Gigan is turning 50 because that's how old that movie was that he showed up in first. Now Gigan is a dinosaur who has like electronics on him, right? So he's got a visor, a red visor. He's got fins. He's got all this stuff. He also has no hands. He has big spikes for arms. Mm-hmm. And on his chest is a functioning buzzsaw. It's wild, right? Well, he shows up, and he shows up in front of Megalon, and he's like, "Hey, they don't talk now, but they do sign language to each other, where they're like, hey, let's team up." And the other one's like, "Yep." And they're waving to each other, and they're bashing their hands.
It was so
And they're
comical.
like, "I
Oh
get
my
everything you're
gosh.
saying, dude, and I'm totally in.
It was
Let's
like-
fuck this planet
Yes,
up."
they became like, bros.
Bros,
And
instantly.
they were like, almost like, I think there was a point where they did shake hands, and then they did, Godzilla gave a thumbs up.
Oh, well, that's not happening yet. But we're
and I'm
all,
like, holy shit. And so they're just waving at each other.
that's Gigan and Megalon.
Yeah.
They're hooking up.
They're hooking up.
And they're already hit it off.
Oh, yeah, they're besties.
I think he said, "Did you see the newest episode of Breaking Bad?" And I think Megalon said, "Holy crap, it was brilliant.
Yeah, right?
Did we just become best friends?"
Yep.
So yeah, they're joined up now, and cut to the bodyguard and the child going to a store, and they go to a model store, and it's really funny because all the models in that store are the models that they're using
used
in the movie.
In the movie, yeah. But why were they in the store?
So
to
they
begin
have a
with?
plan to buy a model airplane or pick up. There's no people because everybody fled. So they're basically going in here asking. I think they leave money on the table. They don't steal it, I don't think. They take a model airplane, and their plan is to go after Jimmy Fallon, who's still in the laboratory.
Yeah.
And why would he stay there?
I don't understand.
He's trying to gain control of Jet Jaguar still, because Jet Jaguar flew off to go to Monster Island. So this plan works. They fly a model airplane into Jimmy Fallon's face. It crashes into his face. And then they beat him up. The kid actually beats him up by swinging on a metal thing and knocking him down. And they gain control of the laboratory. None of this is necessary because at this point, Jet Jaguar is already sentient and in control.
He's in control of himself. So what is the reasoning?
Yeah. So they gain communication with the scientist and everybody's happy again. At the same time, Jet Jaguar has accomplished his mission because he's landed on Monster Island. Mm-hmm. And him and big old G himself share words. Just like Megalon.
It's like they don't really share words, they share thoughts. Like, you know,
they do some sign
language. It was
language.
like the Vulcan mind meld, you know, my thoughts to your thoughts, that kind of thing, because they somehow just understood each other.
And what's really funny is Godzilla is looking at a small man robot. It's a tiny little robot. It lands on the island, and he's looking at him. He's like an ant to Godzilla, and he can understand all of what he's trying to tell him, and he's doing sign language. And Godzilla is on board. He's like, huh.
Like, I got you, bro.
What you're saying is Megalon is loose. This creature we didn't know existed is loose, and it's messing everybody up. I'm coming, man. I'm with you.
Yeah.
So Godzilla, the big G himself, does a cannonball into the ocean to follow Jet Jaguar to beating the crap out of Megalon.
Yep. It's pretty epic, their interaction, the two of them. Like, it was just, they were just instant besties.
Instant besties. Godzilla's on board. He doesn't bring any of the other kaiju with him. He's on his own. And he comes after with Jet Jaguar. Now, Jet Jaguar can fly. Godzilla's got to swim. So now we've only seen Godzilla for this moment. And we won't see him again for another 15 minutes into this movie. This is the first time we've seen him. And this is about 45 to 50 minutes into the film.
It's like a high and by.
And then he's gone because he's swimming. So Jet Jaguar is able to get to Megalon and grow.
Yeah, we don't know how he's able to do this.
Yeah.
You know, he's just a robot. So how does that happen?
And I feel like I'm completely wrong with my coming up with this plan because I don't know if Gigan has shown up yet before Jet Jaguar and Megalon fight. I think that Gigan comes in a little bit later, but I'm a little off. But what does happen is that Jet Jaguar reaches Megalon and is able to grow to the same size as a kaiju. The scientist doesn't know this is possible.
Right. He doesn't know it's possible, and he built him.
And he's like, whoa.
Right. So
okay.
What the hell? Is this because he became, like, you know, sentient and he...
Yeah.
I mean, so how do you accomplish that? You're a robot. You're made out of metal and parts.
He's got PIM particles.
Yeah, okay. Let's just go with it.
From Easter Island.
Yep.
He grows in size and fights Megalon. And at first, he walks up to Megalon. Megalon's like, who are you? He gives him a face like, hey, who are you? Jet Jaguar walks up into his face and bitch slaps him so hard that he goes flying. It is amazing to watch. Megalon is like taken by surprise. Megalon gets up and he's pissed. So they have a showdown. They fight, right? And he knocks down Jet Jaguar. He gets the best of Jet Jaguar. He's beat him up. And Jet Jaguar is like on a bender. He's on the floor like holding his head like, ow, Jesus, I'm getting my ass kicked.
Yeah, but you know what's funny
here.
is that he's a robot, so how does he feel pain?
He feels pain. He's reacting to every beat.
I don't understand this.
Yeah. And that's when I think Gigan does show up, because then Gigan and Megalon now tag team Jet Jaguar, and they beat him up. So much. One holds his arms behind his back while the other one's punching him in the face, in the chest. It's really
it's
freaking
awesome.
funny. They're like kicking rocks out of him.
The fight scene between the four of them is pretty badass.
Yeah, Godzilla is taking his time getting there, and he's letting Jet Jaguar get his ass beat before he shows up. He finally does show up, and that's when it's for real.
I mean, the shit just gets real from there.
Godzilla is full on Hulk Hogan. And he goes and does all kinds of wrestling moves on these guys.
Yeah, he does. Tears it up.
He's doing hand gestures like he's showing his muscles off. He's running and clotheslining them. At one point, he is able to take one of them by the tail and throw him up and down like he's weightless.
Like just slapping him over and over and over again on the ground.
And he actually goes up to Jet Jaguar and tag teams him out.
Yep.
And Godzilla walks in.
It was pretty rad. It was awesome.
He tags out Jet Jaguar so he can get some rest. And he goes in and beats the crap out of both of them. Megalon and Gigan. Gigan actually, like, I think he takes off.
Yeah, he does.
Gigan's like, I'm out.
Like,
you're on your
out,
own, man. This is
out.
way harder than I ever thought it was going to be.
Yeah, he's over it.
He just flies off and he leaves Megalon on his own. And Godzilla, he decides, I got a new move. I got to show you, Jet Jaguar. So he runs back, gets on his tail tip, and flies. Feet first into Megalon through the air and crashes into Megalon's chest.
I love it so much because, I mean, we've seen that in GIFs, you know, we've seen that.
It's in the opening of Mystery Science Theater.
In Mystery Science Theater, and that shot just does not get old.
It never gets old.
I just love it. He's literally just flying on his tail with his feet up. Whee!
Yeah, it's whine and a pitch.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. It's brilliant. And these two have beat. And I will say that they also cheat because I think Jet Jaguar holds Megalon's hands behind his back and lets him fly into him.
Oh yeah, they're definitely teamed up.
Yeah, they're teaming. Now they're giving it back, and Megalon has got his ass beat, and I believe he burrows into the ground because that's a power he has. Yeah, and he goes into the ground, and we don't really know. I think he dies, but we're not really sure. Godzilla, I think he does his atomic breath.
Yep.
Right into him, into the ground, and it's just an explosion of like a, what's that called? Like fireworks or something shooting out of it, you know?
Yeah.
Sparks are flying. And I guess we're to assume that he has killed him. And Godzilla and Jet Jaguar have a moment. They go up, they're bromancing, they shake hands. Mm-hmm. Now, this is Godzilla is shaking a giant robot's hand.
Yeah, he totally did, as if they're having a bromance.
Yeah. I even think he throws him a peace sign.
He does throw him a peace sign. I was like freaking out when I saw that.
It's amazing.
It was like, peace out, homie.
Yeah, peace out, dude.
It was so sweet.
It's unreal. And Godzilla's like, that was fun. I'm going to go back.
Yep.
Well, all's good because SeaTopia has been beaten. We never see them again.
No, which, by the way, who even knows where they are? They're on Earth.
They're on Easter Island.
Oh, yeah, but you know what?
In the country,
all of that
apparently.
is still on Earth. So if we could just decipher where these people come from, I mean, it doesn't even freaking matter.
Well, it doesn't matter.
It's all about the kaiju and Jet Jaguar in this movie anyway.
Well, look, let's just end how the movie ends. Because the movie ends that Jet Jaguar shrinks down. The child is like, Jet Jaguar! Now, they don't really even know him. It's just a robot that came to life and now is sentient.
Yeah.
And they're acting like they're best friends with him. They are so happy that when he lands, he comes back to them. And the kid goes on his shoulders. They're friends. They have a whole music montage of them walking. And they seem like the scientist and the bodyguard are chatting with him. He can't talk.
Yeah, he can't talk, but it seemed like at the end of like a Full House episode,
yes.
you know, where Danny Tanner has like, you know, Michelle on his shoulders,
yes.
and they're like all walking as a family after having a nice picnic. Mm-hmm. That's exactly the scene.
That's exactly it.
That's exactly the scene.
They freeze frame Finn. Over. It's a happy family reunited
family. Again. Yes.
I guess just another guy to this kid to grow up and tell them, these are all my dads.
Yeah.
Jet Jaguar.
We have
no scientists,
no established relationship at all with any of these characters. And mind you, I've read the trivia. This movie, and you could tell by watching it, there are no women in this movie.
There are women only as dancers.
That's it.
None of them have lines.
No. Not a single line.
It's a very strange movie.
They're just dancers. Usually there's at least, 2 or 3 women in these movies.
Usually there's always...
the kid doesn't have a mom.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Well, we don't know. That's why I'm saying I don't know if this is a, I really don't know. I don't know. But I think this is the one Godzilla film that doesn't have women.
Yeah,
as
it
main
doesn't. They
characters.
made mention of that in the trivia. That
Yeah.
this is there's like none. I mean, it's just the dancing women for like 4 seconds, and then that's it. There's this kid. There's never an established sister. There's never an established mom, grandma. Nothing.
Nothing.
It's just you question throughout the whole movie. How does this kid know these people?
Yeah.
Where's this kid come from?
Whose family? Like, is anybody related?
Yeah, like
Because
who's
no one
freaking
talks to each other
raising
like
him?
they are.
It's like these two men seem to genuinely care about this kid, but like, how are they related? Like, what's their situation? It's just bizarre.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
Now, look, here's what I got to talk about, because since we just finished the entire plot of this movie, which is very short, and you're waiting, and Godzilla's only in it, and this is the thing, I have to point this out, because when the new Godzilla movies came out, one of the biggest things that I got annoyed by was hearing people say Godzilla's not in these movies enough. Now, to me, that's an insult, because that means that you had never seen a Godzilla film before, if you had said that. Because Godzilla is never in his own movies. He's always a third or fourth character in his own movies.
Yeah.
Usually he's always humans and aliens fighting, and they use kaijus to battle. Godzilla's in more of these new American movies than he's ever been in his own films.
Yeah.
And in this movie, I think he's in about 10 to 15 minutes. And I don't know if I should even include the opening.
He's in 10 minutes and 24 seconds.
Wow, someone already did the math.
Yep.
Yeah, so in the opening shot is actually a recycled shot from another movie. So that doesn't really even count. The same thing with him in the water. I think that's also recycled. Not when he jumps in. I think that's new. But yeah, that always blows my mind. But what really blows my mind is the plot of this movie. In this movie, we're finding out that there's an alien race, not an alien race, but an undersea water race of people who want to destroy the planet. Now, when the movie ends, we just don't see them again.
We
It's
never
over.
see them again. We don't even know what planet they're on. So
They're on our planet. They say
so they want
that
to
the
destroy
Earth, the
planet.
surface dwellers.
So they want to destroy themselves. It makes no sense.
No, they want to destroy the surface so that the sea can live.
Okay, I get that. But
And they have goons infiltrated on the surface. So why do they just give up?
yeah, I don't know.
And also, like at the end of this movie, and I gotta say this too. This is the Little Mermaid conversation we have all the time. They're not bad guys. They're actually mad because humans keep destroying the Earth, and it's affecting them, and it's killing them, and they're trying to stop it. Now, yes, did they go about it the wrong way? They could have reached out and said, "Hey, there's like an entire civilization down here. You guys gotta stop doing this crap."
Right.
If you see our toga parties, you kind of want to be a part of this.
But they didn't do that. They
didn't
just
do
sent
that.
a monster.
They actually waited until they said a third of their population has been killed of their country, and
Yeah, they
that's
say
when they finally
country.
go, you know what? I'm sick of this. Send the kaiju out because that's our only weapon.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of seems insane. That there's more water than land. So if they control the water, they should be able to take over the land instantly. But they only need a kaiju, which is insane. But at the end of the day, I feel bad for them, because they're dying off and they're like trying to save themselves.
Yeah.
And they're going about the wrong way. And at the end, you kind of go, who's the bad guy here? Because
yeah, I mean, it was actually, man who was letting off
They're the
the
ones doing
atom
it.
bombs and all that stuff.
and the atom bomb actually pissed off Monster Island and all the inhabitants, which
Right.
could have enraged the kaijus
Right.
to attack.
So the humans are basically just, starting a chain reaction of just pure, destruction.
Yeah, and what they and if you're going by Jesus, oh my gosh,
Geigen?
no, if you're going by the rules of the original Gojira, the A bomb is what created him.
Right.
Now I know that's not the same because that was an evil version. He's dead, and this is another. There's subgroups of these movies, and they all fit a different thing. One is evil, one that he's a ghost. There's all these weird rules, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in this one, he's a friendly one. So you just kind of go, well, they keep setting off these bombs, and they're doing bad stuff. You kind of don't want to side with them,
Right.
And you kind of feel bad when the sea people are like screwed over. I wonder if when Megalon goes back down, that they got killed. I don't know if that's what happened too, because I think that maybe he burrows and then Godzilla shoots the atomic blast and maybe it kills them.
Yeah,
but I feel really bad for all of them.
I'm glad
they
that
died.
they didn't show us if that was what
I think they might have. Maybe we blinked out on it.
No, I would have known because I was like watching. Like, I wanted to see the end.
Yeah.
To see if they're, to see the SeaTopia people were going to get anything coming to them.
Yeah.
And they just disappeared out of the movie.
Yeah, they did. They just disappear. The same thing with the goons.
Yeah, the goons disappeared, and it was
it's wild. It really is wild. Now, look, I picked this movie for our first movie of November, for our favorite So Bad It's Good. This is the reason I picked this movie is because when I was a kid, I loved this. When I was a kid, I loved WWF when I was a kid. And seeing Godzilla and Jet Jaguar do literal tag team wrestling moves was mind-blowingly fun.
It was fun for me. And I'm an adult.
Exactly. And it still holds up. And this funny human stuff, this plot, sometimes these plots are really bad. This specific one, I don't think it's the worst. I'm never bored. Some of them are boring. Like, there's a couple of them. There's one where it's like the aliens are like monkey people. And there's another one where the aliens are like cockroach people. It's very strange. And some of them are boring. But this one has got so much charm and goofiness to it that it just makes me so happy to watch it.
Yeah.
And it's so short. You can't really complain about it. Like,
it's very short. And it was also, you could tell that this one was made with, kids in mind, because I feel like, the sound effects, some of the goofy mannerisms, like, throwing up a peace sign and, basically high-fiving and stuff, that was, kid stuff,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe. Yeah, I mean, which is wild because these movies made, like I was talking about earlier, these movies make a lot of money for them. And so people still ran out and saw these movies, even adults. This was like you had to go see a Godzilla movie.
Yeah, I'm sure.
This was the one that didn't do well, which is really crazy. And I think the reason it didn't do so good is because maybe it was too friendly for kids.
That's what I'm assuming.
Yeah. And this director, the director of this one, he had done a bunch of the other bigger ones, like Mechagodzilla, and I think he did the Gigan one that came before this. And so it's kind of interesting that he was on a roll, and I don't know if this one kind of stopped him from doing that, like since it's lost so much money. And that's probably why we never saw Jet Jaguar again.
Yeah, that's a shame, because I like Jet Jaguar.
Yeah, and especially, I think he has finally came back in animated form. There's a Netflix animated Godzilla show, and there's a Jet Jaguar in that they use, but nothing as cool as the Jet Jaguar in this, with no music. But yeah, I think this movie kind of destroyed a lot of that, and I think this probably wanted to calm it down. What's really funny, though, is that when this came to America, it blew up. People loved it. Kids in America absolutely ate this up. So this is one of those movies that you could get anywhere. Because a lot of Godzilla films are hard to get.
Yeah.
This was one of those rare ones that it was everywhere. And it was on, like you said, it got picked up on Mr. Science Theater. They did an episode, but Toho is now taking back the rights, so you can hardly get that Mr. Science Theater episode. Yeah. They actually had to remove it from box sets, stuff like that.
That sucks.
Yeah, and this was so loved. Probably so many people had seen it in so many ways. It was either on, I think it was like TBS in the morning. They would have Godzilla Hour, I believe. And so this was so accessible that I think that kids just really, really, especially of my age, saw this when I did. I think that's why they're so loved. Mm-hmm. And now I will say this. The reason we're doing this, we're doing movies that we know are bad, but we just can't get enough of how fun they are. Yeah. And this is to me, a prime example of So Bad It's Good.
Oh my God, yeah, this is so much fun.
It's so much fun. It is so goofy. If you have friends over with beer, this is a kind of movie you put on and everybody just loses it laughing.
Yeah, it's hysterical. Yeah. There's so many fun things about this film.
And, well, look, and here's the problem now. It has a 4.8 on IMDb.
That's a shame.
I mean, I don't expect it to be any higher. At least a 5. It's got, I think, only 6,000 people have rated it.
I gave it a 5.
Yeah, I can understand it. I probably am stupid enough to want to give it a 6, but I know it's bad. But sometimes, like I always talk about, So Bad It's Good, is it gets to a point where it's like, not that great, but it moves up quickly. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like this is one of those movies that gets elevated from how goofy and funny it is and how much fun it is.
Yeah.
And that's why I wanted to put it on here and watch it again and just like talk about it a little bit, because I just think it's such an interesting dive into Godzilla lore.
I like this one, and it's a fun way to say happy birthday to the big guy.
It really is. It really is.
Yeah, it's just a fun one. So
This is fun.
I gave it a 5, and I really liked it. I had a good time. I was laughing a lot because there was a lot of goof, but I think that's what they were going for.
Yeah.
I do, and they accomplished it.
I mean, I know this isn't your favorite Godzilla film of the
No.
originals, not of the remake stuff, because the remake stuff is pretty.
Well,
great.
I like everything with you know who. So
Well, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Your favorite is King Ghidorah.
yes,
So, big time. I just love Godzilla in any form. Mm-hmm. And it was either between picking this one for this or King Kong versus Godzilla, which is also just as fun and insane. And I went with this one because this one really just holds a spot in my heart. So,
well, at least you didn't pick Son of Godzilla because
I think that one's funny too.
I know you think it's funny, but I can't take it.
And it's two, the Son of Godzilla. It's got another name. The one you're thinking of, I don't think that's actually Son.
The one where he looks like a booger.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's Mina or whatever. Yeah, yeah, I can't remember what that one's called. I always forget what that one's called because it's like very hard because there's another one called Son of Godzilla, and then there's another one, and that's the one you're thinking of. It's like when baby Godzilla's hanging out with a little child.
Yeah, I
school.
can't. He looks like.
It's so crazy.
He does. He looks like a solidified booger with
he's
eyeballs.
a little bug.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible. Yeah. All right.
So yeah, that's the first movie in our little trying out to see how we rank and how we feel about So Bad It's Good movies.
Yep, we got more in store.
Yeah, next week will be Joe's pick, and we'll see what that's gonna be next time.
Gonna be a hoot. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening. Have a good one.
I had enough of the water. I'm going to stick to dry land.
You really think it'll go?
You bet your life.
I don't know.
I do. I'm going to test it out. Bye-bye.
Take care.